promised, we spoke a bit. Me and Hol met up today. We went to the gym and we were like, we must promise not to fangirl over her this time. Rather than just going, oh my God, I can't believe you're on the podcast.
That's very
But
kind.
it's so lovely of you to join us. And this is kind of like we've spoken to you before, but this is the first time we've spoken to you like as part of Coopah, which is a kind of
Yes.
Yeah.
a new thing for you. And we love Coopah. We've been running with Coopah for, I mean, God, a couple of years, is it?
Yeah, I think I've been using it solidly for maybe 18 months now. And it is like genuinely not just gassing it up. It is mad how much difference it's made to my pace. Because I just don't have an excuse anymore. I have to do intervals. I have to do all of those
Yeah, it
training sessions that I would have avoided. Yeah.
keeps you
Yeah.
accountable, which is really, really important for a lot of people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Do you mind telling us a bit about like how that came to be with working with Cooper and what that's been like? Because it's relatively new, right, that you've joined the team.
Yeah, it's only obviously we're into the new year now, but yeah, just last year um that I joined the team. So
Mhm.
originally I actually had a good friend of mine who was also an Olympian. He was working with them for a little while. And so that's how we came across Coopah in the first instance. And yeah, he only had good things to say about obviously both Pete and Dan, who are co-founders there. And they were looking for someone else to get involved that had, I suppose, obviously the sort of elite side of the knowledge of our sport, and how could we
Mhm.
almost put that together and just, I suppose, try and improve the schedules and the plans as best as we possibly could. And to be honest, it's been something that myself and my partner Michael, we've been looking at for a long time. Of at the moment we do our sort of, we've done online coaching ourselves for a long time, but how do we reach more people? You know, we there's only two of us. We can only you can't like reach the mass amount of people that we want to sort of reach, and at
Mm.
like an affordable cost for people too. It wanted to be something, to be involved with something that was yeah, affordable for most people. You know, it's less than a Netflix monthly fee, you know, and
Mhm.
yet it gives you everything. It's all encompassing. It's got stretching, it's got gym work, it's got your intervals, your paces, your long run, you know, just the way that I would train, it's the exact same. You know, you have every element of running to get better. So it just
Mm.
seemed like a really nice fit where we could reach, essentially give our knowledge, but reach out to a lot more other people.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it also, I mean, it gives us also access to coaches, which is like, you know, that we're the people that are using Cooper, like me and Hol, and the people that we're speaking to mostly, I'd suggest that we're on the whole amateur runners, with a huge spectrum of like, you know, paces and PB kind of goals and things like that. But a lot of us don't have access to the sort of to that kind of knowledge and expertise that you offer as a coach as well, which is I mean, it's just incredible to be able to sort of tap into that, knowing that you're kind of like not only kind of doing stuff behind the scenes and kind of, you know, improving, you know, metrics and bits and pieces around there, but also the fact that we can actually literally talk to a coach, not necessarily
Yeah.
you, but literally talk to a coach. I mean, we are in this privileged position where we are actually literally talking to you. Um, so we're trying to kind of bridge that gap so that, you know, the people that are listening to this that may have downloaded Coopah will just, we won't say to them that they can speak to Eilish on a daily basis and get her insight, but you know, it's good for us, isn't it? So
Yeah, and you can speak to a coach on like, I mean, recently now it's like a 24/7 thing,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
That in theory you could talk to a coach whenever. Like I've already made the most of it, I would say, like constantly messaging them. But I was going to say it kind of leads on a little bit to what we kind of wanted to ask you about, because the main thing I find it kind of useful for is reassurance. Like
Mm.
when you find yourself in positions where you kind of have to miss sessions, like I've had a few of those in the last few months where it's been either illness or injury, and it's just so useful because even having like a personalized kind of automated plan, like something that you
Yeah.
can, yeah, that is kind of created.
Gaps as you go along.
Yeah, yeah, it's just it's so great to be able to also have a human being that you can like kind of sense check it with. And who will understand where an app might not, that like you can't like sometimes prioritize your streak over your health. And yeah,
Yeah.
I love being able to talk to somebody about it. But I think we're both kind of slightly, we're a little bit January blues at the moment because we've both been struggling a bit with injury, and we kind of just wanted to get your advice on, well, I guess first of all, maybe kind of the mental side a little bit of like, how do you cope if you are staring down the barrel of like a few days, maybe even like in Esther's case, a few weeks. I think you're on a 2 week at least running
At least.
ban at the
Mm,
moment, aren't you?
mm.
Like, how do you cope with that feeling of like worrying that you might lose fitness or worrying about your goals? How do you manage that?
Yeah, I think what you just said there is completely correct. You know, the Coopah app, as you said, it allows you to speak to an actual coach. So you feel, I think, a lot less guilty missing training than kind of like I know for myself, like if you have it on the plan, it's like you feel like you have to do it. There's almost this like, even if you're sick or you're ill, it's like you want to go out and do it, or you try and squeeze things in the next day, or if you've missed it because I don't know, work's just been really long that day, and so you've missed that run in the evening. There's always that temptation to try and miss it, then try and squeeze it in the next day, or
Mm.
squeeze it in over the weekend, and that's just
Yeah.
the wrong way to go about it. So, as you said, being able to actually chat to a coach who will say, "Listen, ignore it, don't worry about it. We'll schedule it again for next week, or we can push things on by a couple of days," like that makes a big
Mm.
difference. So I think having someone there with that knowledge can be a big support. But likewise, same with injury. You know, if it's a couple of days that you've missed, it's not the end of the world. Like, don't stress. But again, you can have that reassurance from a coach who's knowledgeable, who understands that fitness doesn't disappear overnight. You know, it takes a good little while off of running for that fitness to completely disappear. Obviously, if it's longer, in Esther's case, if it's a couple of weeks, then of course there's going to be that mental challenge in your mind where you start worrying about fitness and is it dropping off. But ultimately your body needs that time to recover and rest and recuperate so that you can get back into your schedule as quick as possible. I think trying to rush things and rush back in is the worst thing you can do, and ultimately you end up missing even more time. It obviously
Yeah.
depends on the injury. There might be an injury where you can still maybe do some of the gym exercises. Maybe you can still do some core. Maybe you can still go for a cycle, whether you can go for a walk. I mean, there might be something you can do. But ultimately, if it's an injury that's you're out for no exercise at all, um, you just have to unfortunately take it on the chin, and as I said, let the body recover and just take its time to get back, because in the long run that's the best opportunity you have of being able to get back into your schedule again and building back that fitness. But yeah, mentally it is tough. I think as long as you have good support system around you, as you said, you've got a coach that you can maybe contact and give a little bit of reassurance. I used to find even just writing in like a journal sometimes helped me, just to clear my thoughts and my mind for the day and give me something else to sort of focus on.
Mm.
Um, that for me was really useful. I mean, I've had a lot of time out from the sport. I'd say the last time was 2013 with knee surgery. I had, I think maybe 8 months, certainly
Oh
over
God.
6 months. And that was a long, long period of time.
Mm.
A couple of weeks, obviously nothing at all. And then I could start back just cycling on the bike and then cross training or in the swimming pool. And it was all stuff that I absolutely hate. I mean, I absolutely hate aqua jog and I hate cycling. It is not for me. But it was just a means to an end to try and just sort of maintain fitness towards that ultimate goal of getting back running again.
Hmm.
So yeah, things take time. You just have to be patient with yourself and give yourself that sort of grace that, yeah, the body is tired and run down and needs a little bit of time out. But in the meantime, there's probably other things you can do, whether it's some stretching, whether it's foam rolling, you know, the little things, making sure you're sleeping so many hours a night. You know, everyone forgets that like sleep is the absolute cheapest way to improve your times, because it's all about recovery and recovering from training.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. And can I be really, really super personal about my own injury and see if I can get
Mhm.
some advice? So, because I want massive reassurance, and I know that this is something that people will get on Cooper if they speak to a coach there, but I want your reassurance. So, I've got a back injury. That's what mine is,
Okay.
and but what I kind of want to know is, so if I'm training for London Marathon, which I am, or I was, and I was up to a certain level of fitness before I picked this injury up. Like, what's the smallest amount of time I could train for the London Marathon in after having a break?
Oof. I mean, it's a good question. I mean, ultimately, it depends on if like muscle memory is a good thing as well. Like if you've done a marathon before, your body will remember that it's done a marathon before. I think if you've never done one, then that's a different situation going into that marathon. And ultimately, it probably just means you need to adjust your goal time going into it. Do you know what I mean the
Mm,
smaller build that you have going into it, the of course the harder it's going to be. Do you know what I mean? There's no shortcuts in running, unfortunately. It's not particularly a skill, it's something that takes a long, long time to build up and into. For you, it's really going to be, is your injury in a good enough place and gone so that you feel confident to get around? Because it's not worth the hassle of it's still being sore, it's still being, and just doing it for the sake of doing it. Do you know, you want to make sure that the injury is completely gone before you
mm,
can really then focus on racing. So honestly, I wouldn't even be putting so much pressure on it right now that like it has to be London, you have to be there for it. The focus right now should just be getting your injury back, feeling 100% healthy again, whether that's going to see a physio, a doctor, people that really have expertise within that area. And
mm,
then you can start worrying about your training after that. But ultimately, as I said, a smaller build up towards London would mean that you just have to adjust your target time. It might not be the A goal or the big PB that you're aiming towards, but that's life and that's running. There'll be another race, there'll be another opportunity to get it again. And I think that's probably why we do love running so much. I think we enjoy that sort of when things do align and you do run a PB, it's such an incredible feeling because it's never an easy path or a straight line toward that PB. There's always going to be setbacks and injuries and illnesses and niggles along the way. But yeah, I would say just try and right now focus on trying to get through this injury as best as you can and not put so much pressure on racing.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then ultimately, I know the Coop app as well. It'll give you like a confidence score too. So when you're getting back into training again, it'll adjust the paces and you'll be able to see, okay, maybe you come back and actually you're better than ever. Maybe the rest has done you some good and actually your training's going amazingly. And in that case, great. Like you'll have an idea of what you can run in London. But if not, and things are tough, then you'd reduce the goals that you've set yourself, whatever time you're aiming for, you start
Mm-hmm.
just to reduce that down a little bit. And then the goal is maybe just to get round London and enjoy it. Do you know, and not have a big time goal or a pressure goal. Because a lot of people go into races now and it's always like PBs, 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 but it doesn't have to be. There's actually other elements you can get out of racing that just purely from an enjoyment level. The atmosphere in
Yeah.
London is unmatched. It's nothing like anything else in the certainly other major marathons within the UK. I mean, London is from start to finish, it's an incredible atmosphere. So, I would soak it up and enjoy it as best as you can.
Oh, thank you. And you mentioned about cross training as well, like
Mhm.
doing other bits and pieces when you can't run,
Yeah.
which I'd love to pick up on because I can do that and I'm able to do that.
Okay.
So that's great. But you know how like other things don't feel as though they hit the mark in the way that running
Mhm.
does. And like, I don't know if this is silly or not, but it feels like other kinds of kind of cardio based training aren't as good as running at kind of like actually working my heart and lungs. Like it's only the running that feels as though it's doing the really, really hard work. Is that true? Or have I just made that up?
Uh, no, not at all. There's a lot of athletes who come back from injury and end up being stronger than ever before because they've done a lot of cross training in the meantime, and it's just working the body in a different way. I think the only thing you cannot get away from, particularly with marathon running, is the impact of the marathon. Doing
Mm.
26.2 miles is the impact going through your legs is something that you definitely do need to build in a few long runs to get used to that feeling again. It would be very, very tough to just cross train right the way through towards to race day. I mean, that would be tough to
Yeah.
do. But for the shorter
Hmm.
distances, I think you can really get away with it. And I mean, I'm someone who's cross trained a lot of my career. Compared to other elite athletes, I do an awful lot of cross training, and I've always found it really beneficial. I know it's frustrating and it maybe doesn't feel the same, but it's still working your heart and lungs. The cardio is still there, the effort is still there. I think it depends on what type of cross trainer you have and what type of bike you have and things like that, that does make a big difference. But I've always found that actually my heart rate can get up quite high on cross trainers. I find it best to do short reps, so really short bursts, which is quite unusual because I think when you're doing training, you're used to doing perhaps running for 8-10 minutes. Like normally for me on the cross trainer, it would be I might do 20 seconds of an interval and then have a short rest and then go again. So it's much, much shorter, much faster. The turnover is much quicker, but that's the way I find I keep my heart rate elevated throughout the cross training session. So it could even be a minute on, 30 seconds off, 90 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Like everything is quite tight, a lot shorter than I would do running. And yeah, that just seems to be really beneficial. It's always worked for me. I don't know if it's going to work for the majority of the population, but I'd like to think so. I mean, there's other people that we've coached or elite athletes that I know that have all cross-trained and been able to maintain their fitness really well. I think, as I said earlier, it really just depends on the type of injury. Of course, if you're restricted and the doctor physio says no, then of course that's going to be more challenging. But if you've got something where you can still get in the pool, you can still get on the bike, you can still get on the cross trainer, it's a brilliant, brilliant way to maintain your fitness, and you'll be in a much, much better place from doing that than having done nothing at all for a couple of weeks. So from that, I think that's a huge positive, being able to still keep the cardio and lungs working. And then all you have to do at the end of that is just work in those long runs building up to London, just so you get used to the impact going through the legs and the body for that long distance.
Oh, do you know what? I think that's a bit of a little mind blown thing, because the one thing that you were talking about there that I have not been doing since injury is doing any kind of interval session on the cross trainer. I've just been on there sort of slightly crying while I've been doing it, and doing like these really long, like 20-minute sessions on the stair thingy and like 15 minutes on just getting through it, just thinking I just need to slog. And actually, if you do intervals on those sorts of things, it makes the time go a bit quicker, which is good
It
because it's
absolutely,
really
yeah.
boring.
No, it really, really does. I think for me, it's a big thing too, like being able to almost in replace of my running session. So on the day that I would have a running session, I would do like a bike session or a cross train session instead. And it just passes the time. It really does. Even just doing the shorter reps keeps your brain engaged because you're having to keep looking at the clock to see, right, go, stop, go, stop. So you're constantly on the go rather than, as you said, just slogging it out for 20 minutes. So it does make a really big difference to the sort of mindset of that. And also you feel like you're getting up a little bit of a sweat, your heart rate's a bit elevated. You do feel like you've got something out of that rather than just doing a 20-30 minute slog. Obviously you can't do that every single day, but yeah, whether it's 2 times a week or 3 times a week, whatever you would normally do within your normal training, yeah, it's a nice way to just mix things up a little bit.
I love that. I have to do, if we're doing any treadmill stuff, then it has to be intervals for me. I couldn't do a long slog, I don't think. I had a 7-minute sprint today on the treadmill, and I was literally going through it like each minute as a day of the week to try and get me through. I was like, okay, Monday's done, Tuesday's done, because it was the only way that I could get myself to do it. I was going to say quickly about strength, which I guess is the other part of the picture that we haven't really touched on. Are there specific exercises that I know the answer to this, but I'm asking you anyway, Eilish. Are there specific exercises that we should be doing to try and prevent injuries happening in the first place? And I guess to kind of also try and come back stronger if we can when we do get back into running.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, your legs are obviously so important. So every single of those major muscles. For me, it's pretty basic, I'd say, my gym routine, but it's enough to just, as you said, strengthen everything, bit more stability within those areas so that you sort of can reduce the risk of injury. Obviously, squatting, lunging, step ups, step downs, doing the hips and glutes for me are probably the most important part, because majority of distance runners either don't activate them properly or are a little bit weaker. Those muscles are maybe not firing in the right way. So very basic exercises. You can even use like TheraBands and do clams and clam walks, and all of those things are really, really important. They're very boring. They're quite boring exercises to do, but ultimately it is, the hamstring, quads, calves, glutes. all of those muscles are obviously going to be key to trying to stay strong and injury free. Ultimately, core is very important as well. So again, holding planks, side planks, all of those are something that I would do every week within my gym routine. Mainly towards the end of like long runs or long interval sessions, that's when a lot of people lose their core. You know, you start running tired and a bit more fatigued and everything sort of falls apart a little bit. But the longer that you can, the more you can strengthen those areas, the better stride length you'll have, you know, the better strength you'll have staying upright and being able to still push towards the end of a session. So for me, those have been really, really important, even more so probably building towards the marathon, because ultimately that's the long sort of test of endurance and long test of fatigue is how you can hold your form over a marathon distance. So yeah, I'd say they're not revolutionary exercises. You know, they are the most basic ones, but I think they're the most important ones for pretty much all runners.
Yeah, I need to be planking. I need to be planking.
I need to be planking. I'm glad that you've reminded us of that, because I think like leg exercises are the things that I think of lots. Glute stuff and hip stuff, I do try to incorporate because it's always that area where I get injured.
Same, yeah.
But yeah, core is one that I just massively neglect because I don't like doing it, but I
Yeah.
need to more. Planks all the way, I
Planks all
think.
the way. Oh
Yeah.
God. Oh, thanks, Eilish. That's I think you've kind of what's the phrase? Kind of shot a something up our somethings. Either way, we are going to go to the gym and actually do the work that we're supposed to do rather than just slog away on the cross trainer, which is what I've been doing for the last 3 days. But yeah, thank you. That's absolutely brilliant advice. And we should take it on board.
We shall.
No problem.